Well, greetings everyone on this spring day. Hope you're doing well. Our lesson today is entitled Spring Cleaning for Our Life and Soul. I thought appropriate with the season right now with flowers coming up, trees are budding, and we having some rainstorms here and there to kind of get the season started. But the winter is slowly slipping away from us. So it's a good time to talk about spring cleaning, if you will. But I'd like to make an announcement before we start that this day of all superheroes and superpowers, that I've discovered that my superpower is holding on to junk for years and throwing it away a week before I really need it. Do you have that same superpower? Well, I think I do. Well, I went to my desk, in fact, where I'm sitting right now, and I opened up the top drawer, and it is a treasure trove of stuff. Now, here's a quick list of things that I found in the top desk drawer. There are various types of keys that seem to have no home, but as soon as I throw them away, I'll find the locks they go with, and I'm so afraid of that, even though I've held the keys for probably 10 years now. Then there's some business cards there with given to me by businesses and by people, both of which I have no memory of where they come from. And they probably, most of them are from across the world, where it doesn't even matter right here. And then there are slips of paper of all colors and sizes, and with pen and pencil and all kinds like this, of mysterious phone numbers from people that I have no idea who they are, and with different area codes from wherever they came from. And then there's the various pens that are in my desk with names of companies or businesses on the side. Most of them, the pens, don't even work. So I had to easy to throw them away. And then there's a menagerie of bolts and screws and different kind of things that clatter around when I open and close the door that just seems to be there, but it seems like that's the bolt I'll need or screw I'll need someday, somewhere. Anyway, and I know you have a drawer yourself like that. Maybe it's a kitchen drawer. We have one of those in our kitchens as well that's just full with ties to breads and to screws and to different kind of ketchup packets and taco salsa packets and mayonnaise or mustard, whatever it may be, but just a whole bunch of stuff with straws and everything else in that drawer. So throughout our time of living, we keep accruing these things and we start throwing them away, and then somehow they multiply right back to the same drawers. Now, in my defense, I would like to take a little bit of an out on this, that my dad was a number one pack rat. And he taught me well. And I guess I take after him about accumulating, because you never know type stuff. He lived during the Depression, as some of us have possibly, and in a very poor family. So throughout his life, he resisted because of that to almost a broken heart level if he had to throw something away, of not throwing anything away. His saying was, and I heard 1,000 times, and I can hear it echo in my head right now, you never know when you could use it. Well, every time later on, as time goes on, there's an event that occurred. He needed some kind of nail or a screw or something like that, or a piece of board, or whatever. He would find it in that pile of stuff that he had, and he always looked at me and said, I told you so. See, there it was. It's been all along. Of course, he's had it for 20 years, but that's okay. At least he needed it when he did, and you have to go buy it anywhere. And after his death, it became a huge undertaking to clean out his garage and his top drawer of his desk, which is just full of all kind of stuff. Now, here's an interesting thought on a serious note. I want you to think about this, and let me tell you what it is. Clutter is more than innocent bystander in our homes. It's more than that. It doesn't just exist for better or worse. It is always a burden, a distraction, or an obstacle to our most intentional living that we have. And I want to explain what I mean by that. So let me rephrase that again to you. This clutter, this stuff that we have here, is not just sitting there as a funny thing or just an innocent thing. It doesn't exist for better or worse. It's not neutral, because it is a burden to us and a distraction possibly and an obstacle to what we want to live for. And I will get into that more in depth. So I hope you kind of keep that idea in mind. Now, I'm not talking here about just the physical, but also the spiritual aspect of it. Clutter represents more. It represents missed opportunities. it wasted resources, unintentional decisions, and most importantly, a departure from life that we are trying to live. I'm talking about both body and spirit here. Now, Luke 12:2 says this, there is nothing concealed that will be not disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. And we go earlier in that to Ecclesiastes, we know so well, the 3rd chapter, and a couple verses from that says, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away. Clutter. I heard the Lord say in these verses that we need to do a spiritual check and take a good look at ourselves and do some cleaning. So house cleaning or spring cleaning is needed in our lives. Now, especially in this day and age where the accumulation of lots of goods and things and around us is often mistaken for success. I mean, we see these rich people everywhere that have billionaires and millionaires out there, and I might be one, that's for sure. But they're the ones that a lot of times will accumulate lots of things and a lot of toys in order to be able to say, I have success. And it's got to be bigger and faster and prettier than the next person, of course. And it reflects a lot of times of our possessions on our peace and our purpose in our life. We're so busy chasing things that we don't chase the right things that come from the heart and what really makes us joyous and happy on the outside. Hebrews 12:1 says, lay aside every weight and the sin which is so easily ensnares you. Boy, that's a warning if I ever heard it. Have it not you? And that we got to watch out, because these things that we accumulate start to own us. And we have to take care of it. And we have to, all of a sudden, it'll get obsolete. We want the next bigger and nicer thing, a bigger car, a nicer lawnmower, or whatever else you want to speculate on. We keep on trying to accrue that to feel like we've arrived, or we have a sense of, I guess in a way, that we have a hope in our life that's a false hope. So in that moment, on that thought, I want to give you 10 things here and 10 reasons to reduce the clutter in your life and in your soul. 10 things. So let's count them down right now. Every item we own adds a little more stress into our lives. That's number one. Every item we own adds a little more stress in our lives. Every item that we own takes up a physical space in our home and mental space in our minds. We have to take care of it. Each item of the clutter is something we need to think about and care for, and we have to focus on it. Individually, each item isn't much by itself, but collectively, as we keep gathering things, the more we own, the more anxiety we add to our lives that we have to take care of all these things we've accrued. Now, from our soul perspective, if we hold on to resentments and memories of hurt and betrayal and revenge, we allow these and more to occupy space that could be the residence of love and forgiveness and just joy in our life. But we let it crowd it out. Without realizing, these destructive, dark thoughts and feelings taint and eat away our peace and outlook on the sacredness of life. Okay, number 2 reason. Every excess possession represents limited potential. And I mentioned potential earlier. Every excess possession represents limited potential. In our life, the resources, time, money, and energy invested in unnecessary belongings are resources that could have been and still could be redirected toward fulfilling our dreams and igniting our passions, things that really makes life golden. Removing clutter paves the way for a more fulfilling life. Now let's look at our soul in that aspect. The time we spend brewing over faults and failures and betrayals, the more of our time when we could be making a positive difference in someone else's life. The energy of negative thinking just sucks us dry, and the passion of serving God and allows our witness to faith and love can be disregarded because we are so focused on other things. After all, we say one thing and then we act out the opposite in our life every day. That's number 2. Number 3 reason to reduce the clutter in our life and our soul. Clutter is a visual distraction. Now, in our life, just like your ear sends electrical signals to your brain when sound is present, your eyes are constantly sending electrical signals to your brain when visual stimuli is present. In other words, the more the physical clutter that surrounds us, the more visual noise we experience. A decluttered environment fosters a much calmer, sharper, more focused mind. Think about it. To sit on the porch and just see a very peaceful setting that just did not relax you, or to gaze out the window to the beautiful trees or the flowers or see a bird go by, the simplicity of it. There's not a lot there, but the peacefulness just brings that sense into our life. Now, the same thing happens in our soul. The more our souls are free from clutter that needlessly weighs us down in guilt, the more positive attitude of hope, love, and peace just radiates from our life to the world, because we're at peace with ourselves for our clutter and all things in our life that just takes us away from that peace is gone. Okay, the 4th reason. Clutter represents postponed decisions. In our life, the accumulation of clutter often stems from our reluctance to make a decisive choice, to take decisive actions many times. We keep things or allow spaces to get cluttered because we have our inability to act. Tackling the clutter head on not only clears out the space, but also hones our decision-making abilities, making us more resolute and purposeful. We're in control of our lives more because these things aren't taking our time away. We're deciding what it will take and what things we want it to take our time. Let's look at our soul. So often we cling to the toxic relationships and depression and selfishness because we're so used to it. It's just part of our life. We've accumulated those. It's a normal part. And we're afraid to let it go. But when we take that leap of faith and ask our God for help to clean it out of our souls, we find so much strength and peace for tomorrow. We can face it in much better, in a positive attitude. The 5th reason. The first step in crafting the life you want to get rid of everything you don't. I'll say that again. It's kind of hard to say. The first step in crafting the life you want is to get rid of everything you don't. Our lives, by removing the non-essentials, we make room for new opportunities, relationships, and experiences. If you need a change in your life, declutter the stuff that you don't want. And I'll get to that later on, how to do that. You'll find that it clears the path to a brand new life more significantly than you think you'll ever have. So take that step to get rid of things that you really don't want to get rid of and make a wise decision. Now, for our soul, we will find space when we let go of that anger and fill it with true forgiveness. When we let go of loneliness and fill it with solitude of intimacy with Jesus. When we let go of hopelessness and fill it with all things are possible with God. Number 7, your home should be a source of calm and rest, not frustration and stress. That rhymes, doesn't it? In our life, our home should be the antidote to stress, not the cause of it. Similarly, our home is not just a port for rest and refuge, it's a launching pad from which we make a difference in the world. Decluttering creates an environment that nurtures relaxation and renewal. And all of a sudden, we create that space around us in our home where all of a sudden it's just pleasant to be there and not look at everything and things that we know we should get rid of and collecting dust, whatever it may be that's taking your mind away from the peace you deserve. Let's look at our souls. When our souls are filled with content with life, it is because it is in the Lord's loving arms. We feel such belonging and strength. Those who come into our presence feels that spiritual peace and encourages their lives. Our homes and very lives is where the Lord resides, and others know it when they walk in. They can feel it. Number 7, your family members, close friends, and even kids around you are watching. In our life, the decisions we make about what we keep and what we discard offer very powerful lessons in value, simplicity, and the very essence of living. It shows priorities of what's most important. When we live with more than we need, it only makes sense that children will ask for things that they don't need. Our choices shape the next generation understanding of both fulfillment and the best practices for living. Now, within our soul, your soul, is filled with faith, courage, and wisdom of life. It becomes a beacon of light to those around you, especially those of younger generations who are looking for truth and compassion. You are being watched as much as you have watched others before you. Understand what you hold in priority, how you value things, and what you choose to value sends a message to everyone around us. Number 8, decluttering fosters gratitude for what remains. In our life, when we remove items that we don't need, our gratitude for the items we choose to keep increases. This intentional selection process highlights the value, significance of each remaining piece, fostering a deeper sense of appreciation and being truly thankful for what we have, and not just take it for granted. Within our soul, what do you most value in your heart? Is it hatred better than love? Is it giving kind words of more value than the sharp barbs of criticism? What do you choose to keep? Then ask God, what do you desire for me to have in my heart and soul that you're pleased with? Number 9, decluttering strengthens resilience against consumer culture. Now, that's a big word there. It's a powerful statement. In our life, decluttering and overcoming consumerism, buy, are two different journeys. Similar to the difference between going on a diet and changing your eating habits for going forward. Same difference. But the first step toward overcoming the pull of a consumer culture is recognize the benefits of owning less. And you'll only get there once you start doing it. In our soul, the world wants us to be fearful and angry and doubtful and selfish. It wants us to be that way. To fight against and appease those feelings, we construct walls within our heart. They not only help prevent being hurt, but it also prevents the light penetrating from God into our life. John Wesley often talked about living and worshiping in simplicity as offered to us. Many times he's gone over and over this. And we talked about last Sunday, Jesus loves me, this I know is the simple way to approach life. Number 10, and finally, you deserve it. In your life, choosing to declutter your home and life is an act of self-respect and self-worth. It's a statement that you deserve to live the life you want to live and are willing to take the steps necessary to achieve it. Now, for your own soul, you're made with such love and care and empowerment. God doesn't make trash of low quality. We have such potential, no matter how old you are, successful, or limited in other ways. We are powerful because God needs us to take it for His sake and be who we are for His sake. All right, there's your 10 reasons right there. Let's go into a little more detail here now to finish our lesson out. Can decluttering be a spiritual exercise? Question mark. Joy is not a word most of us associate with seemingly endless task of keeping a home free of clutter. It's not joy. But decluttering with intention can be a spiritual practice, and as such can bring such great joy. When we are no longer controlled by the clutter of our lives, we can grow and change in ways that bring us closer to God. We need to recognize a very painful truth. Our possessions have more control over us than we would like. The services that we have in our life to be able to serve other people can be hindered by the weight of the possessions in our heart, in our mind, and physically around us as well. In a way, Jesus speaks of this kind of freedom. When the rich young ruler asked what he must do to inherit eternal life, he tells him to release all of his possessions. And he hung his head and said, I can't do it. As one decluttering practitioner said one time, decluttering with a goal, let's say 40 bags for 40 days, helps us focus on what's really important in our household. It shines a light on what is getting in the way of living life and what we have in excess that we can share with other people. This too is a discipline that calls toward a much fuller life. You remember John the Baptist? As he baptizes, he tells his followers how to show how they turn toward God. And he says this in Luke 3:11. The one who has 2 tunics is to share with him who has none, and he who has food is to do likewise. So your resources and my resources, the cluttering we have around us, the things that we know we really don't need anymore, not think about it as a weight, but think about it as a gift, an opportunity of how you can help others through those means. So how do I start to declutter? I'm going to give you a quick lesson on it, and I need to do it myself. So as I'm telling you, I'm telling myself. Tidying up, decluttering, boils down to this simple method. Number 1, sort. You gather everything in one type together. You can start with clothes, as they're the least emotionally laden of our objects. Then books, then papers, the miscellaneous, and we put in junk drawers like I have, and we finishing with memories and mementos. And this lady recommends, that I was reading about, sorting by category, not room, in part to experience the overabundance most of us live with. So go by category, not by, I will get out the kitchen or I'll go to the basement or something like that. That's number 1. Sort them. Sort them wisely. And then ask is the second step. Pick up one item at a time and ask yourself, does this thing spark joy in me? And be honest about it. Does this pencil, does this pen, does this coat spark joy in me? And there's your help to what to discard. If the answer is no, that's the third step is discard. Thank it for the time it spent with you, appreciate it, and then discard it wisely. And this is where tidying up gets into somewhat of a dovetail, a little bit of emotional moment. And the next step is spark joy. Where are you holding on to spark joys? Keep it. If it brings a laughter, if it brings a blessed moment in your memory, whatever it may be, keep it. That's fine, because that is enriching your life. And then comes the last step, place. When what you have is what brings joy, store everything of one type of thing together. This way you'll know where to look when you will need it, and thus gain the precious resource of time. Once again, decluttering your time. It also aids in putting stuff away and maintaining a nice home. Now, some things won't spark joy, but they are necessary. Some things will spark joy, but are totally unnecessary. The goal isn't to be a benefit of all things, but to appreciate, be joyful of what is around you, and get control of our life and our souls and our spirits. Well, let me conclude with this. Most decluttering gurus will have you start with the process by getting rid of what you don't use or don't like, emphasizing the negative in it. But I think that we need to flip that to a positive approach. When you choose what you keep, using the standard of what sparks joy, you change the perspective of tidying up and spring cleaning. Recall the words of the prophet Isaiah when he says in 55th chapter, "All you who thirst, come to the waters. All you have no money, come and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why do you spend money for what is not bread, and your wages for what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me, and eat what is good, and delight yourself in abundance. Incline your ear and come to me. Listen, that you may live." Do you see that decluttering statement there? So during this season of spiritual decluttering, of focusing on what is necessary for growth, and learn to say yes to what you love, pick up some bags and start to prune, start to clean as you do that in your life. No doubt each of these reasons about are compelling enough to motivate us to make a change in living in our life. But if there is one reason that stands out to you, one that feels particularly relevant to your life right now, consider today that your clear sign to take the first step toward a simpler, more intentional, spiritual filled life that is perfect in the eyes of God. Begin with that motivation and so let it guide you toward decluttering and changing what you need to see. Declutter not only your closets and office drawers, but examine what is cluttering your soul that prevents you from truly offering God a clean, loving heart to serve Him. We need to clean our lives. And what a great time of the year to do it. Well, now's the time to start. I'm looking at my desk drawer right below me here right now, and it's waiting. It says, "Come, throw some stuff away." And I got to take that chance. I may throw a key away, and I may find a lock another year from now. But I haven't used that lock yet, so why bother? Time to throw the key away. Whatever it is, and it's time to kneel down before my God and say, "God, forgive me. Take this anger, take this frustration, take this resentment out of my life. Cleanse my heart, that I feel the joy." May the Lord bless you, and I'll see you at the trash bin where stuff belongs sometimes.